How's it going, everybody? Loser Phil here, and today we're going to be doing a little bit of a different video. So today we're actually going to do a top 10s list. I know that's a big shocker, a Pokemon or a PokeTuber doing a top 10 list, but just relax. So today I'm going to be doing my very first top 10 ever. Maybe butchered with the editing. I'm hoping that I can kind of figure everything out as I go along, but this is the filming first. So today we're actually going to be doing a top 10 list on my top 10 favorite gym leaders. Now, a couple of these are just personal choices, some of these are just from memories and stuff like that that I've had throughout the Pokemon franchise. A few of these are just because I think they're awesome. And that's it. So, here we go, without any further ado, my top 10 favorite gym leaders. So, at number 10 we have Whitney. She is a absolute monster. Now, if I remember correctly from my youth, I probably battled her 6 times before I actually beat her, which is ridiculous considering that I even started in Pokemon Red. I knew what I was doing when it came to Pokemon Silver, but still, she absolutely wiped the floor with my team when I first did my playthrough of Pokemon Silver when I was a boy. Now, part of this is also just kind of like, I think that some of it is just the fact that she kind of catches you off guard with her team and how strong she is and stuff like that. But I think another part of it is you really underestimate normal types that early on in the game. Most of the time it's not something that you usually worry about until you get there and all of a sudden her milk tank just crushes your whole team. She's going to be coming up in the Soul Silver Nuzlocke that we're doing, so if you're seeing this video after I've already faced Whitney in the Soul Silver Nuzlocke, then how'd I do? I hope I did well, but hopefully I think everything will be fine, but we'll see. But regardless of all that, throughout my childhood and just the fact that she was so difficult and that she made normal types just completely badass in my eyes as a child, I'm giving the number 10 spot to Whitney. So, I won't lie to you, the newer generations have some pretty intricate gyms, whether they have complex puzzles and designs, if they have ridiculous kind of themes to them, but when it comes to first gen, there's only really 2 gyms that stand out that had any kind of these puzzles or anything, and I guess you can kind of tell from him sitting on my shoulder there, but at number 9 we have Koga. What is there to say about him? He's a poison type gym leader. You don't see that too often, and especially not in any of the newer gens or anything like that. He was a unique trainer. Now, there weren't a lot of poison types in first gen. There aren't really even that many poison types now. I mean, most of them are dual types anyway, but when it comes down to it, you know, Koga's a unique trainer. He has a lot of really interesting Pokemon, but the thing that stands out the most about him for me is his gym. When I first got into that gym, I was a kid, I was a child, and I was, you know, normally when you see a gym, you see some paths, and you see, you know, maybe some cool art or something like that, that kind of like the way that they arrange the layout, and some trainers to battle. When you walk into Koga's gym, you don't see any of that. You see an open room with a bunch of trainers standing in random directions. But it's when you start to walk forward that you realize that this place is full of invisible walls. This was ridiculous as a child. I was like, I don't know, how old was I in 1999? I don't remember, but either way, it was ridiculous as a child for me to have to deal with, and it was a memorable gym, and it was a memorable battle, and the fact that you could finally, after trial and error, navigate your way through his gym, only to fight a boss of a trainer, just made for a, like, an extremely memorable and, you know, intense experience. On top of that, you know, Koga was a little bit nostalgic for me too, because I didn't have cable growing up. I actually was exposed to the Pokemon anime through VHSs that I begged my mom to buy when we saw them in the mall. And one of the episodes I had was Ash actually battling Koga, and you know, it made me think that Venonat and Venomoth were really cool Pokemon. It made me like Voltorbs a lot more. I just remember that episode because I probably watched it 100 times at least. So, to me, Koga's a nostalgic figure. He was one of the first characters in the anime I was ever introduced to, so that's why number 9 goes to Koga. Okay, so at number 8 we are looking at Watson. Now, this one is just a personal one for me. It's all personality. Watson is an absolute riot. Every time you see him, he is happy, he's laughing, he's joking, he's hilarious. And he's such a fun character in the games that, you know, usually when you come across a gym leader, they're usually taking themselves pretty seriously, and especially their job very seriously. Now, Watson is one of those examples of trainers that kind of went against the grain there, and he's just thrilled about Pokemon, and he's thrilled about battling, and he's thrilled about seeing you challenge him, and that when you finally prove that you're strong enough to challenge him, he's so happy that you've won. He's happy for you. He doesn't lament over his defeat. He's happy. He's overjoyed. And on top of that, he gets you Volt Switch, which is a pretty awesome Thunder type move. Anyway, he gives you that in the new gen. Sorry, in the old gen I think it was Discharge or something like that, or Thunder Wave. I forget. But in the newer gens, he gives you Volt Switch, which is a pretty awesome move if you ask me. Besides that, I mean, he's just a memorable character, and he's from 3rd gen, and there are a lot of really cool gym leaders in 3rd gen, so it was good that he made it on this list. So that's why number 8 goes to Watson. Okay guys, so I'm gonna level with you. This is a bit of a weird one. Cilan is number 7. And he is one of the 5th gen gym leaders. He's actually the first one you fight. Well, he's one of them anyway. So, this was a unique take on the gym leader idea, because usually in Pokemon games you can kind of say, well, like, oh, if I pick Squirtle, I'll have an easy time in the first 2 gyms in Pokemon Red. Or, you know, if I pick the Grass starter, I know when I get to like the 3rd gym, it'll be a little bit of an easier shot for me. Throw all that out the window in Gen 5, because the first gym is the opposite typing of whatever Pokemon you started with. Kind of like what your rival does to you in pretty much every game, but in this case, it's a gym leader, which was a little bit of a weird take on it. So when I did my first playthrough of Gen 5, I wasn't expecting this at all. I chose Oshawott, so I ended up fighting Cilan. He's a grass type trainer, so he was pretty tough, especially for my team at the time, and going into it kind of blind was ridiculous, so it was a little bit of a weird challenge. Now, the real reason why I really like Cilan is the show. And this is also why I don't like him. So in the show, he is a ridiculous character. He is kind of like a discount of some of the other sidekicks. But he has his own weird gimmick where he makes food puns constantly. Now, I have a very good friend who absolutely loves puns and makes them all the time, so he actually kind of reminds me of him, which makes me love him and adore him. On the other hand, it's annoying and it's hilarious just to see like how inappropriate some of these are, because they make no sense and they're so forced. It kind of hurts, like, you know, it physically like aches my sides because I'm hearing him talk. So, but you know what, it makes for a heck of a memorable character, and he reminds me of a good friend of mine, in the good way, but in the bad way he reminds me of someone who's annoying and really weird. So I couldn't not put him on this list. He's too memorable for me, and he's too much fun of a character, so number 7 goes to Cilan. Okay, so we're already getting close to the halfway mark. At number 6, we've got Sabrina. So, Sabrina is everybody's favorite psychic type gym leader. Don't tell me it's not, because I know you're wrong. When you really think about it, Sabrina was your favorite. Okay, I'm sorry. No, I can't tell you that, but anyway, Sabrina was at least my absolute favorite psychic type gym leader, and she was super memorable because her gym was just impossible to navigate. And I know I keep making references to how hard these gyms were when I was young, but that was when they were a real challenge. I'm a grown-up person now. I pretend to be a grown-up person now, and I can strategize, and I can kind of like think ahead, or I can look up internet guides, or I overtrain my Pokemon, but as a kid, these gym battles were ridiculously hard, and kind of having that nostalgic feeling of like just frustration kind of makes you look back on it fondly. I mean, Sabrina's gym had a bunch of teleportation pads that you had to go through. On top of that, you had to navigate fighting really tough psychic trainers, psychic trainers were ridiculously strong in first gen. So it kind of made for a really tough gym run, and on top of that, the amount of like jumping around and trial and error you had to do to get through this person's gym was ridiculous. You had so many different chances and opportunities. Like, you would enter a room and there'd be 3 other paths that lead to 3 different rooms, and each of them, you know, you'd be unsure if you were going in the right direction or not, and some of them would take you all the way back to the start and you'd have to start all over again. I mean, my friend, a good friend of mine from when I was growing up, had a strategy guide, and she was really good at getting through this gym because she had the cheat, but, you know, it was the early 2000s, 90s era, so the internet was a pretty useless tool to try to get through the gym, so actually having a physical copy of the strategy guide was pretty much the only way you could get through this gym efficiently when you were young like that. What else is there to say? She was a badass in the comics. The comics, like the Electric Tale of Pikachu, kind of portray her in a different light. The show is even another different rendition of her. And in the game, she's kind of just there. She doesn't really have a lot of backstory. She doesn't interact with the player much, but you know what? The gym itself and the fact that she's a psychic trainer made for a really interesting gym battle. It made for a memorable experience for me. I definitely have flashback memories of anytime I see a teleportation pad in Pokemon. I cringe a little bit, so that's why I have to give the number 6 slot to Sabrina. Alright guys, we made it halfway already, and would you look at who is sitting next to me here? The lovely lady herself, Misty. Now, not only did she single-handedly make every 10-year-old boy on planet Earth have a crush on redheads, she was also a badass gym leader. Now, we're talking in first gen, unless you picked Squirtle or Bulbasaur, you were gonna get it handed to you on a silver platter by Misty, and even if you did pick one of those Pokemon, she was still a tough battle. Now, if you were one of the kids like me who picked Charmander very eagerly as a child, then chances are you had a tough time with Misty, and can probably remember with horrific detail how badly you needed your other Pokemon besides your starter to deal with her team. Now, on top of that, she's also a water-type trainer, which is one of my favorite types. Or at least it has the most amount of Pokemon that I like in water-typing, so... And I can't think of a single water-type gym leader that even comes close to being as memorable as she was, so... It seemed like a no-brainer. On top of that, I mean, she was an awesome character in the show, she made it a lot of fun, so I had to give number 5 to Misty. Okay guys, so riddle me this. How often do you see a gym leader with a starter Pokemon? I asked myself that very same question. So, in the Diamond and Pearl series of the game, you fight a gym leader named Gardena. She is number 4 on this list, and this one was just a weird one for me too. I know I put her over Misty, which is crazy, but this is why. When I picked, I was still fairly young when these games were coming out, and it was kind of one of those things where I just assumed that starter Pokemon were unique, almost like legendaries. Nobody else had one except for your rival. Very rarely did you see another trainer with those starter Pokemon, but the fact that she had a Turtwig in her team blew my mind as a kid. I thought there must be some mistake, especially because in my Diamond and Pearl playthrough, I started with Turtwig. So seeing squaring up against another one was just ridiculous, and it was so, it was such a like a mind blow moment for me that, you know, like, what happened? How did she get this Turtwig? It made me think of all these wild speculations of like, well, did she get one from the professor? Did she start a Pokedex? Is like, what is she? How did she come to that point? And I don't know. It was such a strange thing. On top of that, I mean, her gym is challenging. You have to fight every single trainer in it in order to be able to challenge her, which was something that was kind of unique at the time. And on top of that, grass types again are one of those trainers that you don't see too often. I know there was Erica in the first gen, and I forget his name, the old guy in Gen 6. So it was kind of like, you don't see too much of it, but to me she just kind of stood out as the one who really did the best, and she had that shock and awe factor of having the Turtwig as her starter Pokemon, or as one of the Pokemon on her team. So that's why number 4 goes to Gardner. Alright, so at number 3 we have Flannery. So this one is appropriate for a couple of reasons in my eyes. For starters, she's my favorite Gen 3 gym leader. So it made sense to put her at the number 3 slot. But it gets a little deeper than that. There are only 2 fire-type gym leaders out there. There's Blaine and there's Flannery. Flannery stands out the most, and I can't tell you how many times I've even forgotten other gym leaders and how many times I've had such little recollection of some gym leader battles that it just kind of, I forget about them. But Flannery was one that just kind of stuck, and I don't know what it was exactly, but I think I kind of figured it out when I was making this list. One of the most important things that she does that not a lot of other gym leaders do is she lacks confidence in herself. Now this seems like kind of a flaw, but really it just makes her more endearing. She lacks the, she kind of boasts that like overconfidence and like determination that she's the best trainer ever, but when she loses she realizes that she doesn't have it all figured out. She acts like a real person would. She learns a lesson through battling you. And for some reason with me that kind of just stuck as, you know, this is somebody who could be a real person and who, you know, has real feelings and understands, you know, understands how the world of Pokemon works in a different way. So, I don't know, not a lot of other gym leaders kind of represent that kind of emotion where I kind of brushed on it earlier, but like most of them are very confident and calm and cool and just act like, you know, they're high and mighty, but then when they lose the gym battle they're like, "Huh, well, I taught you an important lesson." But it kind of flips the other way around. When she goes into the battle, she is saying like, "I'm gonna smash you and your team. I have strong Pokemon and this is gonna be a cakewalk." But then when you win, she kind of realizes, well, you know, this isn't just all me, this is me and my Pokemon. And so, I don't know, it was kind of like a weird kind of role reversal that you usually get when you face gym leaders, and this kind of made for a very memorable battle. I mean, on top of that, she has a great Pokemon trainer design. I love the sprites. In the anime, she was funny and she was a fun character. I mean, it's hard not to love Flannery. So I put Flannery as my number 3 slot. Okay, guys. So when I started the idea of making this list, or when I, you know, started writing down the ideas of who I was going to put in this list, the Gym Leader Blue was pretty much my number 1 pick for the entire conception of this list, and there's a lot of reasons why. He was just a really obvious choice. Now, someone beat him out by just a fraction, and it was only by a very recent turn of events that this actually happened, but we'll get to that later. For now, we're going to talk about Blue. Blue is our number 2 pick. So, for starters, in Pokemon Red and Blue, he's your rival. He's immature. He's kind of cocky, but he is a great trainer, and you can't deny that in the games. And no rival has done it quite as good as he has, as far as being one step ahead of you, as far as being, you know, having that just push to just try to beat him, and you guys are so mad that he's ahead of you. You get through the entire Elite Four. You're like, I'm the champion. I'm the best. And who's standing there but Blue, or, you know, Asshat, or whatever you decided to name him in the first gen. But something weird happens in second gen. He's a gym leader. And not only that, he's a very tough gym leader. He is actually the last gym leader you fight. Now, this makes me happy for a lot of reasons. He had a tough time in first gen, and he was kind of an ass too. So to see a character that was, you know, a strong battler, but that went through a lot of tough stuff in the first gen and was kind of a dick, become this mature figurehead of what a gym leader should be. He talks about, like, yes, he still has some little snippy comments here and there, but you can tell he's a mature trainer now, and he's kind of come full circle as being able to handle losing and to be able to offer something to new trainers and offer something to other trainers so that they can in turn learn more, and kind of really represents what a gym leader should be doing in the first place, which is leading and showing trainers that are new or that are progressing through their journey how to improve and how to treat their Pokemon better, and to make sure that those trainers don't mistreat their Pokemon or to put too much pressure on their Pokemon. And it seems like I'm looking into it a lot, but it was kind of one of those things where to see that in the game, that kind of closure really made me happy to see where he was. And I mean, let's face it, nobody did the rivals better than him. And so putting him at number 2 was tough, but someone beat him by just a fraction, and it was just too good of an opportunity to pass up. So that's why number 2 goes to Blue, or Gary, or Asshat, whatever you want to call him. He is the champion of the number 2 spot. Okay guys, so here we are at the number 1 spot. It's been a heck of a list so far. We've seen a lot of my favorite trainers. I hope that maybe you saw a few of yours as well, or maybe got a different appreciation for these trainers as to why they are just awesome. The number one spot is, he won just by a narrow margin. It was a tough choice, but Brock. So, the most important thing about Brock is that he is the very first gym leader that you ever face. He sets the stage extremely high. He is a tough trainer with a tough typing. Rock types are not an easy type to deal with, especially when your team usually consists of at least 2 normal types that do no damage. And unless you trained up your Pokemon to a pretty high level, you didn't have any other attacks that weren't normal. So having to fight these tanky Onix, or this tanky Geodude, it was a tough battle. But that doesn't make him the number 1 trainer, or the number 1 gym leader on its own. In the anime, he is a hilarious character with a running gag that just doesn't seem to get old in my eyes anyway. I can only speak for myself here. Everybody knows the funny scene where it's raining out and they're running for shelter, and Brock says, "I'll turn this frying pan into a drying pan," and then he puts a frying pan on his head. That is classic Brock right there. On top of that, he is a ladies' man, which is pretty funny, and that running gag in the show just always kind of made me laugh as a kid, and always kind of, you know, in a creepy way. It was just kind of like, someday you'll get it, Brock, someday you'll get it. But I don't know, he's just the man. But the real reason that kind of tipped him over the edge over Blue was something that I really very recently watched, and I probably should have watched it when it came out or a lot sooner, but the Pokemon Origins anime really made Brock out to be a different type of character. He teaches Red the importance of being, you know, good to your Pokemon and having a bond with your Pokemon and trusting your Pokemon. And I know it's just a game, and so it's not as important for us and everything, but when you roll the dice and you have to take an attack that's either going to be, I'm taking this Pokemon out, or my Pokemon's going to get taken out, and you make that call and you trust your Pokemon, you know it can do it, and it does it, you feel legitimately good, you celebrate, you feel great that you've put your trust in your Pokemon and it pulled through for you. Or if you're up against the ropes in a tough, like, Elite Four battle, and you're not sure what to do, and you have one Pokemon left and he has 2 or 3 or something, and your Pokemon just comes out and wrecks face with the last of their Pokemon and wins you the league. That kind of trust in your Pokemon and that kind of bond that you form was talked about in the Pokemon Origins anime, where Brock basically encourages Red to trust his Pokemon and to let them trust you, and I don't know, it just kind of really stuck with me that that is what a gym leader is meant to be, as someone who is a mentor and that encourages trainers to do great things and to trust their Pokemon to do great things. So, as cheesy as it is, when I saw the anime, I really had to think about it, and they did an amazing job of portraying Brock as this proper mentor that gym leaders should be, and I haven't seen that portrayed quite as good as I did in the Pokemon Origins anime, and nobody did it so directly, so completely, and did it so inspiringly, and just saw a new angle on that character that, you know, you wouldn't expect. So all in all, I couldn't pick anybody else. So Brock, you are my number 1 pick. You are the man. Brock, you are my number 1 pick. Pew pew. Okay guys, so there you have it. That was my top 10 gym leaders. If you didn't happen to see your favorite gym leader in this list, feel free to comment and just let me know what your favorite is. You can do a top 10 list yourself, you can just let me know what one of your favorite gym leaders are, or even just tell me about one of your most memorable Pokemon battles with a gym leader was. As always guys, feel free to comment, like, subscribe, let me know what you guys think, and if you guys enjoyed this top 10 video, I can do more of them. There are so many topics that I could cover, and you know, it's just an awesome, they're a lot of fun to do actually, so my first crack at it has been a pretty good time so far, so we'll see how editing goes, but in the meantime, I'm enjoying myself so far, so as always guys, have yourselves a great day, and keep on training.